Welcome, team. Okay, I want you to cast your minds back to that massive cardiovascular project we did last year. Remember spending 3 entire weekends just literally manually verifying blinding protocols across dozens of PDFs? Yeah, exhausting work, right? Well, today, we're putting on our consultant hats to tackle one of the most critical challenges in our research workflows. We are going to master AI in our risk of bias and quality assessments. Look, we all know that assessing dozens of studies for bias is incredibly labor-intensive. You've got to read every paper, dig into the methodology, make tough calls on credibility, and if we get this wrong, our entire synthesis is built on a very shaky foundation. So I'm going to guide you through how we can leverage AI to radically accelerate this process without ever sacrificing the rigorous human judgment that our clients and peers expect from us. All right, let's jump right in. Let's anchor our entire session right away with this core philosophy. AI surfaces information, but you apply the judgment. I want you to think of your AI as a hyper-fast, super enthusiastic, but fundamentally naive research assistant. I mean, it is absolutely incredible at scanning hundreds of pages of text in seconds to find exactly where a paper mentions blinding or randomization. But, it doesn't actually understand the nuance of our specific research questions. It's just a tool to extract data, not an arbiter of truth. You are the expert here. So the final judgment about whether a methodological flaw actually constitutes a real bias in our study, that is 100% on your shoulders. Okay, here's our game plan for today. We'll cover the high stakes of bias, frameworks for quality assessment, calibrating your AI assistant, the human verification checklist, and finally, bulletproof synthesis. Let's start with Section 1, the high stakes of bias, why weak evidence misleads. So here is a fundamental truth we have to keep in mind. Systematic review validity completely relies on high-quality evidence. It's a massive mistake to equally weight a methodologically sound study with a heavily flawed one. Think about it. If we build our conclusions on studies with major systematic biases, like, say, massive unmeasured confounders or just terrible attrition rates, our final synthesis is totally compromised. We could literally end up concluding an intervention works based entirely on low-quality bias data. We are far, far better off building our synthesis on just a few really high-quality studies rather than a whole mountain of flawed ones. 50. That is a pretty conservative estimate of the number of papers we handle per review. And if you do that manually, that's hundreds of hours of your life completely gone. Poof. Doing a thorough manual assessment of things like randomization adequacy, blinding feasibility, selective reporting, doing all of that across 50-plus papers is a huge operational bottleneck for us. And this is exactly why we need to bring AI into the fold to accelerate the extraction phase. We've got to free up your mental bandwidth for the actual deep analysis. Moving on to Section 2, Frameworks for Quality Assessment, the Toolkit. The golden rule here is that you must use the right tool for the right study design. Think of these tools like our industry's specialized tape measures. For randomized controlled trials, or RCTs, the absolute standard is ROB2. That's Risk of Bias 2. It assesses domains like the randomization process and deviations from intended interventions. But if you're looking at observational studies, you've got to switch gears to ROBINS, which stands for Risk of Bias in Non-Randomized Studies. We definitely don't apply universal criteria blindly. Using structured tools gives us really clear domains and decision rules, which turns what could be informal, subjective guessing into reliable, reproducible data.
Think about the contrast here. For randomized trials, our focus is heavily on the mechanics. Was allocation concealed? Were the participants and assessors blinded? But for observational studies, well, the game changes completely. Randomization doesn't exist there, right? So we have to heavily scrutinize confounder identification and selection criteria instead. Like, how exactly were the groups selected to make them comparable? And the beauty is, our AI assistant can help us scan for these specific terms depending on which exact tool we're actively using at the time.
Next up, Section 3, Calibrating your AI assistant, Delegation Rules.
Okay, think of this as your quick go-to checklist for evaluating task risk versus AI capability. On the low-risk side, we delegate the high-speed, repetitive extraction to the AI. We give it a prompt like, hey, extract the methodology relevant to blinding and participant attrition. And boom, it does this in literally seconds. But think about the high-risk tasks. Those remain exclusively human. The AI cannot interpret whether that extracted methodology is actually valid for our specific research question. Resolving disagreements between reviewers, finalizing the actual risk ratings, all of that stays with you. And here is exactly why we never, ever let the AI make the final call. AI makes errors, folks. Sometimes it just completely misses nuanced details. But even more dangerously, it actively hallucinates. For example, it might generate entirely fake citations to support a methodological claim, or fabricate statistics about participant dropout rates that simply do not exist anywhere in the source text. Plus, AI really struggles with the difference between a methodology being not reported in the text versus having an unclear risk of bias. If you just blindly accept its suggestions, you are baking plausible but totally fake data directly into our research. To protect ourselves against this, we rigorously monitor our CAPA score. 0.60 is our absolute floor. It's the baseline. When we do a pilot batch of paper assessments, 2 human reviewers independently score them using the AI-extracted data. We then calculate our inter-rater reliability. If our agreement drops below 0.60, we pull the emergency brake. We stop immediately. That score means our assessment definitions are ambiguous or we're somehow interpreting the AI data differently. We have to clarify our rules and recalibrate the team completely before we move forward.
Section 4. The Protocol. Human Verification Checklist.
All right, this is your concrete 4-step playbook for executing a hybrid AI-human workflow. Step 1, select your tool, like Rob2 or Robin's Eye. Step 2, isolate the methodology section text and prompt the AI to extract exactly what you need. Step 3, and listen, you absolutely cannot skip this, verify the AI's accuracy manually against the original paper. Did it actually pull the correct randomization method? Finally, Step 4, you, the human expert, finalize the risk judgment based on that verified data. It's that simple, but you've got to stick to the script. Let's consider how this actually plays out in the real world. Say we have 60 anxiety RCTs. The AI's job is to extract the methodology per Rob2. Our human action? We dual assess 15 of those papers just to verify consistency. Or what if we have unclear risk papers, where the methodology is just missing? Here's a really great use case for AI. You can actually have the AI draft a very professional email to the original study authors, asking for clarification on their methods. Then, the human action is to review it, send it, and reassess the paper based on the author's actual real-world reply. We let the AI do the heavy lifting, right? But we always control the quality validation.
Before we even think about synthesizing our findings, we run through this verification checklist. First, include all studies. Yes, even the low-quality ones matter. We don't just throw them away, we analyze their impact. Second, maintain consistent standards across every single paper. Third, as we've hammered home today, never accept AI suggestions blindly. Fourth, avoid using unclear risk as a lazy cop-out just because a standard method wasn't described in agonizing detail. Reserve unclear for genuinely ambiguous situations. And finally, check your own etc. bias. Honestly, this is the ultimate human vulnerability. Ask yourself, are you rating a paper favorably just because its findings align with your expectations? Stay objective.
And finally, Section 5, Bulletproof Synthesis, the debrief. I want you to imagine a meta-regression scenario for a second. On one side, we have our high-quality studies with verified, rigorous randomization and low attrition, and they show remarkably stable, consistent effects. But consider the divergence on the flip side. Our low-quality, high-risk studies show wildly inconsistent effects. Some show a massive benefit, some show absolute zero. Bias is actively skewing the data in those weak studies. But because we did the hard work of properly assessing quality, we can confidently isolate the true effect.
And that leads perfectly to this absolutely critical takeaway. Quality-informed synthesis is all about transparency. Our goal is not to just blindly delete low-quality studies from existence. Believe it or not, they contribute to the broader picture. Instead, our true goal is to transparently document exactly how methodological quality impacts the final recommendations. We use sensitivity analyses to show, hey, if we only look at the bulletproof studies, here is the result. But if we include the weaker ones, here is how the results warp. That right there is rigorous, world-class research.
So as we close out this playbook, I want to leave you with a challenge. Think about your specific area of expertise. What single methodological feature in your field affects credibility the most? Is it blinding? Is it how confounders are measured? Whatever it is, identify it today. Because tomorrow, you can use these exact AI workflows to start hunting for it faster and more accurately than ever before. Thank you so much for joining me, team, and I absolutely cannot wait to see how you apply this to your very next project.